Marcus wiped down the marble lobby floor with practiced precision, his movements efficient and quiet in the pre-dawn darkness of the Meridian Tower. At 42, he had perfected the art of being invisible. Security cameras tracked his path, but the wealthy executives who would soon fill these halls never really saw him. The mop handle felt familiar in his calloused hands, though once those same hands had guided wounded soldiers to safety in Afghanistan. That was a lifetime ago, before Emma was born, before everything changed. Now his battlefield was different, but no less demanding. His phone buzzed softly. A text from his 80-year-old daughter. "Dad, Mrs. Chun says I can enter the science fair if I want. Can we build something together?" Marcus smiled, tucking the phone away. Emma was brilliant, curious about everything. She deserved opportunities he had never imagined at her age. That meant keeping this job, staying invisible, providing stability. The elevator dinged softly as someone arrived unusually early. Marcus glanced up to see a figure in an expensive suit stepping out, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in sharp, agitated tones about offshore accounts and market volatility. Richard Blackstone. Everyone knew the billionaire by sight, though he had never acknowledged Marcus in 3 years of employment. "Where in the world are you watching from right now? What time is it where you are as this story begins?" Marcus continued his methodical cleaning routine, moving toward the executive offices on the 42nd floor. The building's ventilation system hummed quietly around him, a sound that had become as familiar as his own heartbeat over the past 3 years. Richard Blackstone had disappeared into his corner office, the door slamming with enough force to rattle the glass partition. Through the transparent walls, Marcus could see the billionaire pacing frantically, his phone conversation growing more heated by the minute. The janitor had learned to read the moods of the building's inhabitants. Blackstone was under pressure, the kind that made powerful men desperate. Marcus had seen it before in officers facing impossible missions. Desperation made people unpredictable, sometimes dangerous to themselves and others. Emma's morning routine would be starting soon. She would wake up, brush her teeth without being reminded, and prepare her own breakfast with the independence that both impressed and worried him. 8 years old and already so self-sufficient. Too self-sufficient, perhaps, for someone her age. Marcus moved his cart closer to the executive suite, ostensibly to clean the water fountain, but really to keep an eye on Blackstone. Something felt wrong. The man's agitation was escalating beyond normal business stress. The city was waking up below them, traffic beginning to fill the streets like blood flowing through arteries. From this height, the people looked impossibly small, fragile, temporary. The phone call ended abruptly, and Blackstone hurled his device against the office wall. The sound of shattering glass carried through the supposedly soundproof partition. Marcus paused in his cleaning, every instinct from his military service suddenly alert. Through the transparent walls, he watched the billionaire stumble toward his private bathroom, his movements erratic and unsteady. Something was very wrong. Blackstone's face had gone pale, and he was clutching his chest. Marcus abandoned his cart and moved closer. The man was having what looked like a panic attack, or worse. His breathing was rapid and shallow, his expensive suit darkening with perspiration despite the building's cool temperature. The executive floor was empty at this hour. No assistants, no colleagues, no one else who might notice or help. Marcus found himself at a crossroads he recognized from his years in the service. Walk away and maintain the invisible boundary between his world and theirs, or step forward and risk everything. Blackstone disappeared into his private bathroom, the sound of running water mixed with something else. Retching, then silence, then a heavy thud that made Marcus's blood run cold. He checked his watch. 6:15 in the morning. Emma would be getting dressed for school now, choosing between her favorite blue sweater and the green one her grandmother had sent. Simple decisions in a simple world, far removed from whatever crisis was unfolding behind that bathroom door. The silence stretched on, becoming more ominous with each passing second. Marcus made his decision in the space of a heartbeat. The bathroom door was locked, but he knew these executive suites better than most. 3 years of maintenance work had taught him every access point, every emergency override. He retrieved his master key card and swiped it against the door's electronic lock. The mechanism clicked open, and he pushed inside to find Blackstone collapsed on a marble floor, unconscious but breathing. A prescription bottle lay scattered nearby, pills spilled across the pristine tile. The billionaire's pulse was weak but steady. Marcus quickly assessed the situation with the calm efficiency that had once saved lives in a combat zone. Not a heart attack, but likely an adverse reaction to medication combined with severe stress. The man needed immediate medical attention. He pulled out his phone and dialed 911, then knelt beside Blackstone, checking his airway and positioning him in the recovery position. The emergency operator's voice was crisp and professional as Marcus provided details about the building's location and the patient's condition. Blackstone's breathing steadied slightly under Marcus's careful monitoring. The man's eyelids fluttered, consciousness returning in fragmented waves. His expensive watch caught the light, a reminder of the vast gulf between their worlds. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Marcus calculated timing and logistics with military precision. The paramedics would arrive within minutes, but questions would follow. Questions that might threaten the careful invisibility that protected his job and, by extension, Emma's future. He had perhaps 3 minutes to make another choice. Blackstone's eyes opened fully just as the elevator chimed in the distance. The paramedics had arrived. Marcus watched recognition slowly dawn in the billionaire's confused gaze, followed by something that looked like gratitude mixed with bewilderment. "Thank you," Blackstone whispered, his voice hoarse and weak. His hand reached out, trembling, as if to grasp Marcus's sleeve. "Who are you?" The question hung in the air between them. Marcus could hear boots in the hallway now, urgent voices calling out directions. The emergency responders were seconds away from discovering them both. He stood up slowly, his decision crystallizing. "I'm nobody important, sir. Just someone who happened to be here." The sirens were deafening now, echoing off the building's glass exterior. Red and blue lights flashed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, painting the office in alternating colors of urgency. Marcus moved toward the bathroom's rear exit, a service door he had used countless times during maintenance work. "Wait," Blackstone called out, struggling to sit up. "Please, I need to know your name." But Marcus was already moving, slipping through the service door as the paramedics burst into the main office. Their professional voices filled the space, asking about patient history and consciousness levels. Someone mentioned finding the door unlocked and wondering who had called for help. What would you do in this situation? Would you stay for recognition or disappear like Marcus? Through the service corridor, Marcus made his way back to his cart, resuming his cleaning as if nothing had happened. Marcus resumed mopping the hallway floor with deliberate normalcy, his movements steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through his system. The paramedics wheeled Blackstone past him on a stretcher, the billionaire's eyes scanning the corridor desperately, searching for his anonymous rescuer. Their gazes met for a fraction of a second. Marcus kept his expression neutral, just another invisible worker doing his job. Blackstone's mouth opened as if to speak, but the paramedic was asking questions about his medication, and the moment passed. The elevator doors closed, carrying the billionaire away to safety. Marcus continued cleaning, working his way methodically toward the emergency exit where he would dispose of his mop water. His hands were steadier now, muscle memory taking over. His phone buzzed. Another text from Emma. "Dad, I decided on the volcano project for science fair. Can we start this weekend?" Marcus smiled despite the morning's intensity. Emma's world remained beautifully simple, filled with possibilities and wonder. That was what mattered. That was what he protected every day with his choices. Security guards appeared in the hallway, asking routine questions about who had access to the executive floor. Marcus answered politely, mentioning only his regular cleaning schedule. They made notes and moved on, already focused on reviewing camera footage and checking entry logs. Within an hour, the 42nd floor had returned to its usual quiet efficiency. New executives arrived for morning meetings, stepping around the lingering medical equipment without giving it much thought. 3 days passed in peaceful routine. Marcus arrived each morning at 5:30, cleaned the building methodically, and left by noon to pick up Emma from school. She chattered excitedly about her volcano project, her teacher's praise for her math skills, and her new friend Sarah, who shared her love of science books. But on Thursday morning, everything changed. Marcus stepped off the elevator to find the executive floor buzzing with unusual activity. Security personnel clustered around workstations, reviewing footage on multiple monitors. A woman in an expensive suit was directing the investigation with crisp authority. Sarah Chun, Blackstone's chief operating officer, had a reputation for thoroughness that bordered on obsession. Marcus had observed her from a distance, noting her sharp intelligence and unwavering loyalty to her employer. She was the kind of person who would turn over every stone until she found what she was looking for. Marcus quietly began his cleaning routine, staying on the periphery of the investigation. Through fragments of conversation, he learned that Blackstone had returned from the hospital with a singular mission. Find the man who saved my life, he had instructed Chun. I don't care what it takes or what it costs. The security footage was being analyzed frame by frame. Employee records were being cross-referenced. Chun was building a timeline of everyone who had access to the building that morning, mapping their movements with methodical precision. Have you ever wondered how far someone would go to find a person who helped them? The search was just beginning, and Marcus realized his careful invisibility might not protect him much longer. Sarah Chun stood before a wall of monitors, displaying security footage from every angle of the 42nd floor. She had been at this for hours, her sharp eyes tracking every movement, every shadow, every possibility. Blackstone watched from his desk chair, still pale but determined. The timestamps told a story. 5:47 a.m. Emergency call placed. 5:51 a.m. Paramedics arrive. But the crucial minutes before remained frustratingly unclear. The bathroom's interior had no cameras for privacy reasons, and the hallway footage showed only routine cleaning activity. Marcus continued his work 3 floors below, but he could feel the investigation's weight pressing down like a gathering storm. Every swipe of his key card was logged. Every movement through the building was tracked. Chen's reputation for finding answers was legendary in corporate circles. His phone rang during lunch break. Emma's school. Mr. Torres, the teacher, said, Emma mentioned you might be interested in chaperoning our field trip to the Science Museum next week. We could use an extra adult supervisor. Marcus hesitated. Public visibility, even for something as innocent as a school trip, felt dangerous right now. But Emma's excited voice in the background made the decision for him. Dad, please say yes. You promised we could explore the space exhibit together. He agreed, knowing that Emma's happiness outweighed his caution. Some risks were worth taking, especially for her dreams and education. That afternoon, Chen expanded her search parameters, pulling employment records going back 5 years for anyone with building access. Chen's investigation reached Marcus Torres on Friday morning. His employment file landed on her desk with dozens of others, but something made her pause. Military service record. Afghanistan veteran. Emergency medical training. Single father. She cross-referenced his schedule with the timeline. Marcus had been assigned to the executive floors that morning, arriving at his usual 5:30. His key card showed access to the 42nd floor at 5:43. Just minutes before the emergency call. Meanwhile, Marcus was helping Emma prepare her volcano model in their small apartment kitchen. She measured baking soda with scientific precision while he painted the papier-mâché mountain they had built together. Her concentration was absolute, her small hands steady and sure. Dad, Emma said without looking up from her measurements, Mrs. Chun at school says you can tell a lot about people by how they act when nobody's watching. What do you think that means? Marcus paused, his brush hovering over the volcanic peak. Sometimes people do the right thing, even when they won't get credit for it, sweetheart. Sometimes helping others is more important than being recognized. Emma nodded solemnly, as if this made perfect sense in her 80-year-old world. That's what heroes do, right? They help people and then disappear like in the stories. Back at Meridian Tower, Chen was pulling Marcus's personnel photo from the database. She studied his face, noting the quiet dignity in his expression, the steady gaze that spoke of someone accustomed to responsibility and hard choices. Monday morning arrived with an unexpected visitor waiting by Marcus's cleaning cart. Sarah Chun stood in the lobby at 5:45 a.m., her presence both professional and somehow gentle. She had been watching him work for 10 minutes, observing his methodical precision and quiet competence. "Mr. Torres," she said softly, "may I speak with you privately?" Marcus felt his carefully constructed world shifting beneath his feet, but his expression remained calm. "Of course, ma'am. Is there a problem with my work?" Chun led him to a small conference room, closing the door behind them. She placed a folder on the table between them, but didn't open it immediately. Instead, she studied his face with the same intensity she had brought to the security footage. Thursday morning, she began. Someone saved Richard Blackstone's life. Someone with medical training. Someone who knew the building well enough to access his private bathroom. Someone who cared enough to act, but humble enough to disappear. Marcus remained silent, his military training serving him well in this moment of interrogation disguised as conversation. "Mr. Blackstone wants to thank this person properly," Chun continued. "He wants to offer a scholarship fund for the hero's family, a promotion, recognition for extraordinary courage and character." The offer hung in the air between them. Marcus thought of Emma's excitement about her science project, her dreams of becoming an astronaut or maybe a doctor. Opportunities that money could provide, doors that recognition could open. If this story of quiet heroism is touching your heart, where are you listening from today? Marcus looked at Chun for a long moment, weighing years of careful invisibility against his daughter's future. The silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken understanding. Finally, he spoke quietly. "I was there that morning," he admitted. "Mr. Blackstone needed help, so I helped him. That's all there is to it." Chen leaned forward slightly, her expression shifting from investigative to genuinely moved. "You save his life and ask for nothing in return. That kind of character is rare in any world, Mr. Torres." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "I have a daughter, ma'am. She's 8 years old and brilliant and curious about everything. All I've ever wanted is to give her opportunities to grow and learn. If Mr. Blackstone truly wants to thank me, maybe he could consider that." At that moment, the conference room door opened. Richard Blackstone himself entered, moving slowly but with obvious determination. His color had returned, though he still looked fragile from his ordeal. His eyes found Marcus immediately. "You're him," Blackstone said simply. "The man who saved my life." Marcus stood respectfully. "Yes, sir. I'm glad you're feeling better." Blackstone extended his hand, and Marcus shook it firmly. Their handshake spoke of mutual respect across the vast divide of their different worlds. "I owe you everything," Blackstone said. "Name your price. Anything you want, it's yours." Marcus thought of Emma, probably getting ready for school right now, practicing her volcano presentation in the mirror. "There's only one thing I want," Marcus said quietly. "My daughter, Emma, loves science. She dreams of becoming an astronaut or maybe a doctor. If you could help her get the education she deserves, that would mean everything to me." Blackstone's expression softened with understanding. "A full scholarship fund," he said immediately. "The best schools, university, graduate programs, if she chooses. And Marcus, I want to offer you a position worthy of your character. Head of Security Operations, with a salary that reflects your true value." Marcus felt tears threatening, but maintained his composure. "Thank you, sir. But I need to ask one favor. Could we keep this quiet? I don't want Emma to think her opportunities came from anything other than her own merit." Blackstone nodded with deep respect. "Your secret is safe. But privately, I want you to know that you reminded me what real heroism looks like. Quiet, selfless, expecting nothing in return." 6 months later, Emma Torres stood before her new classmates at Riverside Academy, the city's most prestigious school. Her volcano project had evolved into a presentation about geological formations on Mars. Her eyes sparkled with the same curiosity that had always driven her. but now she had resources to match her dreams. Marcus watched from the back of the auditorium in his new security uniform, still preferring the shadows but no longer invisible. Emma caught his eye and smiled, unaware that her father's single act of courage had changed both their lives forever. If this story moved you, let us know where you're listening from and subscribe for more inspiring tales.